Namaste. Myself Triveni Kurana, Assistant Professor, Faculty Physiotherapy and Diagnostics, JVN, Rajasthan. Today we are going to discuss about neurophysiological approaches related to neuro patients. The treatment of neurological disorders will always be in the hands of therapists. These are occupational therapists, speech therapists, and physiotherapists. The aim of treatment for patients with disabilities due to brain damage is to prepare and guide them towards their greatest possible independence and to prepare them for as normal lives as can be achieved. Now, first approach is NDT, Neurodevelopmental Technique. The concept of NDT is based on the recognition of a brain lesion results in the appearance of stereotyped abnormally coordinated movement patterns which will be abnormally affect a great number of muscle groups in extensor or flexor synergies. In the beginning, these abnormal patterns are changed, but as time goes on, they may increase with stimulation, effort, and stress. Tonic postural activities, particularly associated reactions, reinforces the abnormal movement patterns which contribute to development of contractures and deformities. A brain lesion interferes with the development of normal postural control in relation to gravity. Instead of normal posture tone, we find abnormal tones. These are too high, which is known as spasticity. If the tone is too low, known as hypotonicity, and athetosis is the fluctuating tone. Instead of normal reciprocal interactions, we find excessive co-contraction or sudden inhibition of antagonists, resulting in the lack of ability to make a graduated movement. Instead of normal automatic movement patterns of writing, equilibrium, and protective reactions, we find a few static and stereotyped postural patterns of tonic reflexes. The abnormal sensory motor development interferes with whole development. These include sensory, perceptual, cognitive, and psychological. Associated sensory and perceptual deficits can be primary, which is due to brain damage, but frequently they are secondary to the physical disability, which prevents an individual from exploring himself, the environment. He does not develop the same concept of his body as does others. Abnormal sensory motor experiences will result in an abnormal body awareness and abnormal body image, which can be reinforced by parents' inexperience and inability to deal with their child's disability. Now, next approach is facilitation. Facilitation is the process of intervention which uses the improved postural tone in a goal-directed activity. It makes movement easier, but in the treatment, it also means making it possible and making it have to happen. Through facilitation, the therapist communicates with the individual using somatosensory cues to foster any of the following movements responses. These responses may involve quick stretch, prolonged stretch, resistance, which may be manually or with body weights or gravity or with the help of mechanical weights. Other responses include approximation, traction, inhibitory pressure, light touch, slow stroking, and fast vestibular stimulation. Next neurophysiological approach we have Brunstrom's approach. Movement therapy in hemiplegia developed by Singh Brunstrom in 1970 was designed to promote recovery in individuals who had suffered a stroke. Brunstrom is credited with two main contributions: a description of the stereotypical synergy pattern and the recovery stages of patients seen following cerebrovascular accidents. It highlights the importance of the current emphasis on working towards the goal of voluntary control and functional limitations experienced by patients as they work towards recovery. A basic concept of Brunstrom's approach is that of synergies. or motor patterns, which are patterned, recognizable flexion or extension movements of the entire limb evoked by attempts to move or by sensory stimulation, characteristically seen during the period of recovery following a neurological incident such as CVA. Repeated use of synergy, which makes isolated movement control more difficult, is viewed as inappropriate and undesirable. Practical training activities to stimulate out of synergy, concept of motor learning, such as isolated movements, are encouraged. Positive reinforcement and repetition are stressed. The stages of recovery are used as an overall framework from which to view the patient's progression towards recovery of voluntary motor control. Now, our next approach is Roots approach. This technique was developed by Margaret Root, American physical therapist, in 1956, with the goal normalize and basic muscle tone. Treatment begins at the developmental level of functioning. Movement is directed towards functional goals. Repetition is necessary for the re-education of muscular response. This is used as a preparatory facilitation to increase excitability of motor neurons which supply inhibited muscles. The area to be brushed is specific in terms of nerve root supply to skin and muscles. Quick whip with ice as excitatory effect, which is immediate and most effective when applied to skin overlying the extensors of the limbs and when the part is warm. Brushing or ice application to the palmar surface of the fingertips alerts mental processes but should be avoided if spasticity present. Ice applied to the lips or tongue facilitates sucking, swallowing, and speech. If this is carried out from the neck to sacrum over the center of the back, it will reduce chorioathetosis. Our next technique is Vojta therapy. Vojta therapy is a dynamic neuromuscular treatment method based on the developmental kinesiology and principles of reflex locomotion. This method is supposed to treat patients with disorders of CNS and musculoskeletal system too. It was developed by child neurologist Professor Velkel Vojta in 20th century and now used predominantly in Europe especially. This therapy can be applied to the patient of any age group and can be used as standard therapy in physiotherapy for almost every movement disorders and for numerous illnesses such as infantile postural asymmetry, congenital muscular torticollis, stroke, CP, lumbosciatica, hip dysplasia, respiratory distress syndrome, migraine, peripheral paralysis of the extremities, various myopathies, and problems in the breathing, swallowing, and chewing. Vojta describes 10 different zones that are available to stimulate the motor patterns of reflex locomotion. A light pressure on certain stimulus zone, these may be muscle or bone, and resistance to the current movement is applied to cause patients involuntary motor response and performance of certain movement patterns. The Vojta method can be divided into two phases. These are reflex creeping and reflex rolling. Reflex creeping lying flat with the chest down and back up, and reflex rolling lying flat with the chest up and back down. Reflex locomotion is activated from prone, supine, and sideline positions. The reflex locomotion elicited by Vojta therapy is associated with specific changes in cortical and subcortical brain activation when compared to sham treatment. Tactile stimulations on predefined zone of body activates central nervous system. If stimulation is given correctly and repeatedly, motor pattern generated are learned by brain and could be executed voluntarily by an individual. Moreover, it can activate vegetative and autonomic reactions such as eye coordination, jaw and tongue movements, bowel and bladder coordinations, sucking, swallowing, and breathing. Now, our next therapy is MRP, Muscle Re-Education Program. It is used to train the essential functions of everyday life in upper limb function, orofacial function, sitting up from supine, sitting, standing up, sitting down, standing, and for walking activities. Now, next approach we have contemporary task oriented approach. Task oriented training is a restorative therapeutic approach based on the system theory of motor control. This was given by Bernstein in 1967 to retrain the patient with movement disorders. This approach utilizes a training program that focuses on specific functional tasks to promote and restore optimum functional capacities with the goals to achieve control in various different functional activities and postures, to attain active movements after a phase of active assisted activity, minimize hands-on therapy, maximize role as training coach, to transit the patient away from using assistive devices towards independent function as soon as the patient is able, to effectively counteract effects of immobility and the development of indirect impairment such as muscle weakness or loss of flexibility, to promote use-dependent cortical plasticity, to prevent learned non-use of the involved segments while stimulating CNS recovery. Now, our next approach is neuromuscular re-education. Neuromuscular re-education deals with retraining the brain and spinal cord in voluntary and reflex motor activities. Basic principles of neuromuscular physiology are applied clinically in the treatment of muscle paresis and paralysis. Physiological principles of both the muscular system and the nervous system are utilized, but more particularly the latter. Strictly speaking, the term muscle re-education is a misnomer, for only the nervous system is capable of being educated. Neuromuscular re-education consists of training muscles, brain, and nerves used for them to communicate with each other to improve movement, strength, balance, and function. Examples are standing balance exercises and seated stability exercises with the help of BOSU and other equipments. Now, next approach we have CIMT, Constraint Induced Movement Therapy. It is designed to decrease the impact of a stroke on the upper limb function, and it's a behavioral approach to neuro rehab based on learned non-use. It is typically performed for individuals following cerebrovascular accident, as between 30 to 60% of CVA survivors will experience some functional loss in their impaired limb. CIMT has also been performed for individuals with CP, traumatic brain injury, and multiple sclerosis, with the aim to improve and increase the use of the more affected extremity while restricting the use of less affected arm. The components of CIMT includes repetitive, structured, practice-intensive therapy in the more affected arm, restraint of the less affected arm, application of behavioral techniques that transfers gain from the clinical setting to the real world, making it functional. Shaping is a training method in which a motor task is gradually made more difficult. It consists of 10 to 15 tasks selected primarily for basic battery. Each task is usually performed in a set of 10 to 30 seconds trial. At the end of each set of 10 trials, the task is changed. Only one shaping parameter is changed at a time, and it requires therapist involvement also. Thank you.